guys help us leverage, and you're always tapped into what's going on, whether it be what we're going through right now or anything in the marketplace. So we're incredibly grateful for the value that you guys help provide to us. So yeah, let's kick this off, guys. I want to start, and I feel like, again, doesn't matter the marketplace or where we're at or what's going on, but mindset is so powerful. And so I want to start with mindset. And for you guys as individuals, as top agents, top team leaders, how are you staying? And again, I know we just touched on this to a degree. How are you staying committed and focused in this, different landscape that we're in now? Let's start with Ben.
Well, I can say we have made some changes for the good, like you talked about. We've made some changes on our team. We do a morning huddle now, whereas before we were not doing a morning huddle. So 8:30 every morning, we jump on what we call our morning mindset call. We all commit to what we're going to do for that day to accomplish. And then individually before that call, all of our team, myself, have committed to just jotting down and journaling 10 things that we're grateful for. As crazy as the world seems right now, we've all got things to be grateful for, right? There's always someone that wishes they were in your shoes, wherever you're at in life right now. And so I think it's really important to realize where you're at in life and realize the people that you have around you and the support system that you have around you, and just be grateful for that. I think we all talk about, waking up and slaying the dragon every day, and it doesn't always have to be about that. Sometimes it's just about getting through the day and having a positive mindset and being appreciative for the things you have around you. So for us, journaling has been something that we've adapted to, which is probably a good thing that you should have been doing before. I can't say that I was, but I am now. And the community huddles. So even if you're not on a team, if you've got a team of accountability partners that you can hop on a call every morning, I think it's really important to keep your mindset strong during these times. You're going to see some more cancellations, some more obstacles pop up in your transaction. And I think it's really important now more than ever to have a support system around you. And that doesn't have to be in the form of a team. It can be in the form of individual agents that you have as accountability partners. But I think that's really going to be important as we're powering through these changes and into the new norm. I think some accountability partners and mindset partners, more than anything, is going to be an important change to be making.
Love it. Daniel, why don't you go next?
So obviously we are living in different times. What I got going on is I've been doing a lot of these Zoom things. I'm not something that I had to get used to. Like Brandon said earlier, a lot of PJs on the pants and collar shirts. I've been doing a lot of that, so it's a little different. Zoom calls only with my team, with agents. So I used to do a lot of not a lot. I only have about 12 agents on the team, so I used to do one-on-ones, one a month for an hour. So now I'm doing it over Skype. So that's something different that we're doing, but it's at least we're still doing something that I'm doing different that I wasn't doing before. Is that doing a lot of these Zoom stuff. With clients is a lot of phone calls. Obviously, I can't see them. I used to do a lot of client events. I no longer do client events. They all got canceled by venues. I even got venues reaching out to me for Cinco de Mayo. I had a huge party I was going to do on Cinco de Mayo, and the venue just called me and said, "Hey, it's canceled. We can't do it." So what I'm doing different now is I'm making more phone calls with clients, where before it was I would send out invitations, text messages, emails. I would do some calls, but now I'm doing more calls and even spending a little bit more time on the phone calls with them, where before it was just, "Hey, I'm calling to invite you to this event." Now I just spend a little bit more time with them on the phone, where before it was a 1 minute to 2 minute phone calls. Now I'm up to 5 minutes to 6 minutes per phone call with clients. So that's what's different right now versus a couple months ago.
Got it. Yeah, and want to get into some more of that stuff deeper, and we will, in terms of our communications and if the messages change and all that. But, honing in on, again, that mindset piece and how we control this and how we control our mind. And I think, we talked about this on some of our former calls. Not everybody's been on here, obviously, but, I think that when this first came down, or really the hammer dropped on us in early March, I think that, everyone had some fear and some uncertainty. And then I think we went into this space of maybe education and, finding what's going on around But going now into this, growth and evolving, and how do we continue to go to that next level? So how do we control that mindset? So Tiffany, again, how are you controlling that day-to-day mindset?
Well, my day pretty much still kind of consists of how I was living before pre-COVID. It starts with a morning workout. At 8:30, I do my daily huddle calls with the team, and those calls kind of go a little bit with like what Ben's doing. And they've always done this way. This is how I was trained and this is how I continue to work. But it's, what's the goals? What's the goals for the day? What did you accomplish yesterday? What challenges do you run into? And then what challenges do you think you might run into today? And then also my team they do have a journal. They have the 5-second journal. So that goes into your top 3 things that you want to accomplish, what time you're going to finish working, what you're grateful for. And then it has like a brain dump on the right side of it. So it kind of just goes into just letting it all kind of go out, to kind of let some of that stuff go so you can start the next day. But for me, it's also been getting out. Like I go to Papago and I run the little 3K every day. And so it's getting outside, making the phone calls. I've called my clients, so I'm actually like out doing my workout, and just kind of doing the same basic activities. They're just starting a little bit later in the day than they used to.
Got it. All right, Brandon.
Yeah. So, I mean, mindset, especially in times of, like we're facing right now where there's a lot of change, creates a lot of anxiety and fear. A lot of the ways that we used to do business, or the ways that, not necessarily the ways we used to do business, but the way that we're interacting with people has changed. And anytime we have a big shift in the way that we do business, it can create a lot of anxiety, because what we're having to do is we're having to adapt new business practices, new systems and strategies, and adapt to a new conversation. And I think one of the most important things is kind of what these people have already pointed out is you have to stay engaged. You have to be engaged in the conversation, and that's why we, like many of the top teams on here, have morning huddles. It's a conversation that you plug into every single day. It's the discipline of being an entrepreneur is about bringing that self-discipline to the table and staying engaged in important conversations that create momentum in your life and in your career. And especially right now, given that we engage and interact with each other online, that can be new and challenging for people as well, because we all have insecurities as humans, and we have to get comfortable being on camera and voicing our opinion online and to the masses. But what I want to say about that is, even before this happened, isolation was one of the most dangerous things that a real estate agent faced. Not plugging into a community, not plugging into a peer group or a mentorship ladder or a coaching program or something like that. Isolation was tough before this. And now it's, we're in a forced isolation where maybe a lot of people aren't sure where to plug into. So I think that it's important for your own mindset, not to just manage it yourself, but to surround yourself and plug into people who can help you set a narrative for your day, for your week, for your year, so that you can kind of plug into that narrative and plug into those people and go along on that journey. And listen, I'll say that, change is the constant state of business. Like that's a fact. Change is the constant state of business. And part of the discipline of an entrepreneur is accepting that fact and plugging in to the educational pieces and the engagement pieces that help you not just navigate change, but prepare to, get through the shock of change and prepare to grow again. And, like everybody on this little round has said, engagement and plugging into a community is probably the most important thing we can do for our mindsets right now.
Good stuff. Yep. And, obviously, having the right mindset and reminding and surrounding ourselves with the best people that we possibly can, and doing a lot of things that you guys are saying, and managing the morning routine, as much as it might be different, these are all powerful things to really, whether it be getting out amongst nature, and, you're seeing people out all the time, riding bikes and taking this time with their families and whatnot, and hopefully providing a little bit of a sense of relief and helping us to control our mindset. So, when we get now into business and when we're talking to all the agents on this call, or when you're talking to the agents on your guys' team, how are we overcoming? Again, it still exists, right? I feel like we've gone from this fearful state to this growth and education and understanding phase, to hopefully this, what we're all a lot of referring to, this new norm or this new reality, or how am I going to continue to grow and thrive in the new way of doing business? So one of these points, I know a lot of agents out there right now are saying, hey, look, how do I overcome the fears and or emotions from my clients or my customers, my buyers, my sellers? What are you guys saying to help overcome those fears for clients and consumers? Let's start with Brandon, and we'll kind of loop it around.
Yeah, so here's the thing. You don't overcome it. What we're facing right now is not an objection that we overcome. What we're facing right now is a very, very true reality that's happening for everybody. And I think one of the ways that we do this, and it's the same thing with scripting or objection handling or whatever it is, we're always looking for a script. And it's not a script that you need. It's a depth of understanding that you need. Your depth of understanding of what's happening and why it's happening in our industry enables you to speak confidently to the people in your life and bring a calming sense to them and alleviate their fears with facts and knowledge and information. So education becomes a key part of being able to, in a sense, overcome that fear and that negativity in your conversations. And really, we have a lot of opportunities to do that. Plugging into a lending update every week and really understanding the nuances and the changes that are happening in lending and why that's happening. What's happening with Tina Tambour. You guys have done a great job having her on regularly so that these agents can have information to speak directly to what's happening with our market. Why is it still strong? Why are we still having multiple offers on listings? And, what are buyers having to do to compete? Like, just being involved in that conversation every single day and educating yourself as things change, it gives you the confidence to speak and articulate that to your people. And when you can do that, you alleviate their fears and their concerns, and you help them find a path forward. That path forward right now might be, I'm going to sit on the sidelines and wait, and that's great. Here's how I'm going to support you, and here's how I'm going to keep you updated. And that other side of that might be, you know what, I'm comfortable and confident. Let's move forward. Let's sell this house. Let's buy this house. Great. Here's how I'm going to help you do that, given the changes that we're involved in. So I'm not big on scripting our way through this as much as I am empathizing our way through this new challenge.
I agree with that. Yeah, it's not scripting, and we're going to go to Daniel next. And overcome is probably wasn't the right word either. And I guess maybe it's address those things and help people, ultimately, work through those things. Because again, as leaders, and every single person on this call is a leader, we're leaders of potentially a team, an organization like myself, or leaders of our families or our friends, and people are looking to us, and we have a responsibility to be calm. And like you're saying, Brandon, I want to piggyback. This magnifies a lot of the things that I think that we have said around our organization and around, many other agents, is that we have to be educated. It goes without saying, but we have to be a source of knowledge, and we have to lead with value and abundance. And we can't do that if we're not educated. So, Daniel, again, how do you address whatever you want to call it, that fear or the emotion in the marketplace?
Yeah, I think Brandon answered that pretty well. So to piggyback on that,
not very well, just pretty well.
No, really well.
I just want to clarify. I
don't even know what to add to that, but I'm not nothing to add. But to piggyback on it is to be very positive, even if the clients are very negative and very, the sky is falling, whatever, is to be very positive, very confident, and what you're saying, be very knowledgeable where the market is and where it's currently at. And the one thing about, my market, as you know, is 90% of it is out here in the West Side. So under 350,000. And that's a very different market than 500,000 plus market is very different. Houses are still selling. My production, I know you mentioned earlier, before we were recording, you mentioned, I think you mentioned, Jeremy, we were down 20% on escrows, some like that. My escrows are still the same, a lot less showings. But my point is to answer the question is being very positive, being not, no matter how the client may be acting, is being very positive. And also piggyback on what Brandon said is the client says, I'm going to wait it out 2-3 months. Okay, great. Here's what I'm going to do to support you or to help you out. Follow back up in 2 or 3 months, but not try to change their mind to say, you're overthinking this. You need to stop right now, or you need to buy right now, whatever it may be. Is to support them in whatever decisions that they've already made, and just be very positive. And what you said earlier, Jeremy, is we are leaders, and sometimes we may forget that. My wife reminded me of that a few days ago. I posted something, or I said something on social media. My wife said, hey, you need to be a little bit more sensitive the way you may be saying things, because you are a leader and people do look up to you. So you need to be careful on you need to be a little bit more sensitive on how you say things.
People are watching and they're listening. And if we're calm and we lead with, again, facts over fear and all those kinds of things, and again, lead with education and abundance, a lot of things that we're talking about, people pick up on that, and we can help lead our communities, not just our real estate community, but all of our communities. Tiffany, go ahead.
I'm going to say Brandon kind of hit the nail on the head when it came to, it's just putting out that the message that you care. I call it the care message, right? Like, how many care messages are we going to do it? And in what form are we going to do it? Is it going to be handwritten cards? I've been communicating mostly with, are you okay? Is there anything you guys need? If the conversation comes up, that they want to talk about business, then the resources or the links that I've kind of put together, I do send to them, but I've literally come in and said, hey, well, I'm not calling for business right now. I'm really just checking to see how you and the kids are. I know you got 3 kids in a house right now, so you got to be going nuts, right? Completely divert the conversation back into family life, because that's kind of what we're all dealing with.
Yep, fully agree. Ben, go ahead.
Yeah, so I noticed the last word that once again Brandon mentioned, and this is what I talked about with my team this morning, was empathy. I mean, I think if there's one word that you can take away from anything right now, is empathy. I think everyone on this call is entrepreneurs and is successful salespeople here. We all like to think we're in control of our destiny, right? Like, we can control our income, we can control a lot of things. And I know, as well as everyone on this panel, and hopefully everyone on this meeting, we know we're going to rise out above this, and we're going to be better off for it. But that's not the case for all the people that we're meeting with right now. Some of their lives have been significantly impacted in ways that you and I will probably not quite understand. And so while I come from a background of canceled expireds and a very aggressive sales approach, now is not that time. Now is the time to just listen to what these people's problems are and see if you can offer a solution and find out what they need. But more than anything, I think the message that's going to resonate to them and is going to, either improve or ruin your brand is your ability to empathize with where these people are coming from. And everyone's got a different situation. And so there is no one size fits all script or dialogue that you're going to have. But I think the better that you can listen, which has always been a big part of selling, right? So if you've been a successful salesperson, you've been able to listen to your clients and find out what their needs are and offer a solution. I think you just need to listen even more closely now, because it's not all about business. It's about, potentially their future income, where they're going to even have a house to live in, right? So people are going through really big changes in their life. And I think the number one thing that you're going to do to overcome it is just be empathetic to their situation. Don't try to change their time frame. Their time frame is their time frame. Offer solutions for whatever their time frame is, and be there when they need you. Whether that's now, in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, right? You should be positioning yourself that you're going to be in this business in 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. And these relationships that you're building now, you'll see the fruits of that labor when the time is right. And so I think that's the biggest thing, is don't try to change people's mind.
And I think you're exactly right. And people are going to remember, they're going to look back and they're going to remember the people that were there for them in a positive, productive way, you know, in the way that we conducted ourselves. And, you know, there's a lot of people that I think that are kind of crawling in a hole right now, and you're not seeing them, and they're not present. And, you know, I think that they're going to be adversely affected, but, you know, those are all good points.
Last thing, I mean, and the last thing I'll chip in on that is, I think as team leaders too, and obviously, you know, you, Jeremy, as the brokerage owner, I think we have to be empathetic to different agents that are in different skills, you know, have different skill sets or in different levels of their business, right? So what might not be a challenge to me might be a challenge to someone else, and vice versa. I have challenges that other agents and other team leaders don't have at all. And so I think we have to be empathetic to everyone's needs right now. And I think that's not just our clients, but that's really our agent community as well, you know, within the brokerage, within the team, and within just the entire real estate community.
So as we all good points. So as we transition then to those communications, I guess, with, you know, or you know, with our clients and fellow agents and our team members and whatnot, what is that current message, right? What is our messaging, whether it be from, you know, emails or calls or texts? You know, I want to talk about how we are managing our database communication, maybe the frequency of those, or is it simply in just the messaging itself that's changing and you're staying consistent? If we could touch on that, let's start with who wants to go first this time. Let's start with Daniel first.
So I do right now, it's phone calls, and there's not really, I don't, right now it's just calls about how you guys know.
Hold real quick, Daniel. I think we're losing your. Are we losing your audio? Is it just me?
Can you hear me?
There we go. There we go.
Closer to my face.
Yeah.
So-
So real quick, Daniel, I just want to clarify this. Obviously, you're someone that has thrived historically on repeat and referral business. Incredible work with your database and touch points. I know you used to do a lot of the face-to-face, you know, the pop buys and things like that. We used to see it all on social. So talk to us on how that has evolved, how you've taken all those touch points and the pop buys and the things that we really can't do anymore, and how does it look now?
So the one thing that's really impacted my business is I would do a lot of client events, so I no longer do those. I am doing phone calls. I'm doing more phone calls, a little bit longer on the phone with the clients, and the phone calls just to see how they're doing. How are they holding up? Is there anything I can do for them? And just be on the phone a little bit longer with them. Some people hasn't impacted at all. Nothing has changed. They work in construction, or they work in a field where it hasn't impacted them at all. Some people work in the entertainment industry, and they've been heavily impacted. And they have, you know, 3 kids, 4 kids, 5 kids, whatever. So the conversation is different with each and every one of them. There isn't a one message fits all type thing. I'm calling each and every client, not each and every client, but I'm calling as much as clients as I can, spending a little bit more time on the phone with them, and just be sensitive and just listen to them, and just kind of see if a lot of clients right now, most of them are want information on refis. So connecting them with my loan officers on the refis. So just that's the one thing that I'm doing is being on the phone a little bit longer with them. No message, just what can I do for you and how are you doing? On the pop buys, I haven't done pop buys, but I am gonna, because most of my events have canceled. We are gonna do on Mother's Day week, the week of Mother's Day. And I've always done this, and I am gonna do this. We're gonna do we do Mother's Day homemade cheesecakes, and I would deliver most of them. I am gonna do that. We have thought about not doing it. I haven't done pop buys. I stopped doing birthday cakes for the first 2 weeks that we were on lockdown. But once I started with the birthday cakes again, I started seeing more referrals come in. So I made the executive decision. We are going to deliver cheesecakes to all the moms, especially because we're not going to do any client events, and that's where I would get the majority of my business.
Got it. Let's go to Tiffany next. Database communication, touch points, or is it just the messaging that's changed?
A big part is the messaging. I mean, I did shut off like all my auto marketing. you know, I mean, not the lead gen part, but the auto marketing, all the drip campaigns, because those are all kind of, they all need to be kind of tweaked anyway. So, and that message just doesn't need to be going out until this is kind of coming to an end. You know, I'm providing more facts. I'm trying to give real facts that people can kind of work off of rather than what they're hearing from the news, because the news just feeds more fear, I think, into people. Trying to keep people on the phone, have a positive dialogue, you know, like being optimistic, just trying to add some better value into their world right now, because I know everybody's kind of not sure what's going on, right? I mean, I have no idea what's going on. But other things that I'm doing for those that are like either on the fence, I'm doing virtual tours. I've done a virtual like webinar for a listing for some sellers that want to sell. You know, today I told Paul on my team, I'm like, what, you know, you don't have any appointments, go out, couple new listings, do a virtual tour and send them to, you know, some of the people that are looking to get off the fence once they, you know, can kind of leave their homes, or, you know, there's different types of clients, investors that are looking for, you know, so you just kind of figure out who your clientele is and what they're looking to do, and then still offer the service, you know, as long as you know what they're looking for. It's kind of what we're kind of doing right now.
Got it. Oh, Brandon, let's go to you. How's the database communication look currently? Has that changed or evolved, or again, is it simply the messaging that has changed?
Yeah, it's absolutely just the messaging, and we have absolutely done the same thing that Tiffany's done. It's like you shut off all of your auto stuff. It's the message that usually is inside of that stuff is really insensitive for times like these, trying to push people and calls to action and things of that nature. But we just break it down into two things. It's one, it's utilizing empathy as a strategy to communicate, and then utilizing education to determine the message that you're going to communicate. So really simple example for that is, you know, you're calling your database, you're connecting with the people that own homes inside of your database, and you're simply saying, you know, you take something that you've learned, take something like from Tina. Clearly, it appears the data is supporting that home values are quite safe right now in Arizona. So I call Jeremy a homeowner in my database, and I check in with Jeremy, and it's just a very personal conversation. And I say, hey, Jeremy, you know, more than anything, I just wanted to let you know that I know there's a lot of stuff going on, and I know that each family is facing their own unique and individual challenges. But I wanted to take one thing off of your worry list today and just let you know that your home value is safe. It doesn't appear that you have to worry about that right now. So you take what you learn, you run it through the filter of empathy, and you communicate it to the right people in your database. And that's relationship building, right? That's what we would do for a friend or a loved one or a family member, whatever that looks like. But the return of relationship sales and real estate is coming back full force right now. It was already on a really great trajectory before all of this happened. And now those natural connectors, those natural relationship builders, like we all have our opportunity to shine right now and going forward. So our messaging just runs through that filter: empathy, education, and then pass that education on to our database.
Love that very much. That's great. Ben, go ahead.
I don't think I can add anything else. I think it kind of parallels what everyone else said before me. It's just the messaging. You should already have systems in place of touching base with these people, however it is, whether you do pop buys, whether you do calls. And so our systems have stayed consistent. So nothing has really changed there. I think the message has changed a little bit, but that just goes back to what we were talking about before, you know, being a little bit more empathetic to their situation, not being so scripted and trying to push people along in the process and expedite their process, and letting the process play out at the time that it's supposed to be. And so once we get back to a little bit more new normal and things settle down, I think we can get back to some of that. But I think you just change your messaging to a little bit more of an empathetic message and educate them about what's going on in the marketplace. A lot of people just want to know, what's this all mean for real estate? And through, you know, Tina, and through touching base with your lender and your title people, you should be able to be a wealth of information. And any doubts that they have, they should be reaching out to you, and you should be reaching out to them to provide that to them. And I think that's it. Just be a resource center for your database right now.
Got it. Okay. Thank you guys. Yeah. So next question I would like to ask for all of you are what choices or decisions have you made already, or do you see being needed as we move forward? In your business, maybe it's business, operationally, maybe reoccurring expenses, maybe people or roles, or, again, I don't really have an exact thing in mind. This is a broad question, but what choices, I know folks are having to kind of take a step back and make those tough decisions, or it's providing an opportunity for us to audit right now, people or roles or systems or our P&L or our costs. So what choices, or maybe tough choices, right, or decisions have you guys already made? And what do you see being needed as we go forward? Let's start with Tiffany on this one.
Well, you touched on expenses. That's definitely one of my hot points. So like immediately because I've been licensed for a while to see different shifts, and I was in the housing crash in 2008, but expenses are just a hot point in general for personal and business. And so I watch that pretty closely. And so when I noticed that this was going to probably be a little bit of a lengthy experience, you got to go through your expenses and go, what can I cut and what do I have to keep to make sure that my ROI stays the same? Like canceling certain things that don't really change things. It's not a top priority, right? If you want to get rid of it just for the sake of getting rid of it and cleaning house, great. But you want to be careful on what provides business and what doesn't provide business. At the end of the day, most of us can really generate business by just using our cell phones. So you can always turn the on switch for lead gen back on when the market starts getting back into, okay, let's get moving, So expenses is kind of my biggest thing. Going back, double checking your systems, making sure that when things start operating at a normal level again, that you're ready to go at a faster pace, because it's going to pick up real quick. Those would be my 2 cents.
Okay, let's go to Daniel next.
We haven't made a decision yet, but we are thinking about some items to remove, and one of them is actually, and I've been in close contact with Bob Herzog. We share offices. We're in the office building that he's at, so we're looking at downsizing the office because we're still moving our operations along, and after going through this experience, we are seeing we don't need that big of an office. We don't need that much office space. We can still operate without an office. So we haven't made the decision yet, but it's in the works. We're thinking about downsizing or no office at all.
Got it. Let's go to you, Ben. What decisions have you made? And again, not just costs, but people, operations, functions, maybe tech, any of those. What have you made, and what do you see, as we continue to go forward?
I think, I've obviously noticed some glaring holes that we had in our business, mine in particular, when it came to online training, virtual trainings, being able to assist our agents virtually. And so that's something that we jumped on really week 1 of the pandemic, getting ahead of that. So we're definitely looking at our systems and how we can automate things in the virtual world, so that some people prefer to work like this, and we want to be able to provide them the resources they need. So we're building that out. I think everyone touched on P&L. I mean, I don't have a lot of fluff in my business anyway. I'm a pretty simple, straightforward agent, so I don't have a lot of fluff. So there wasn't a whole lot for us to cut out. But to flip it, I look at it more as what opportunities does this also present, right? And I think there's a lot of, as we look at what did agents miss when we stopped going to the office, right? It was the sense of community, the community relationships that we have that we got used to on a day-to-day basis. And so for me, I know there's probably a lot of agents out there right now that are looking for a community, right? And I think my home group, I think you just said, Jeremy, before we started this, agents are still jumping on board to my home group. And I would like to think it's because you're having community events like this. You know, not everyone out there, not every brokerage out there is doing this. You guys are ahead of the curve and you're providing this sense of community in this virtual age. And so you've obviously adapted and we've done some of the same things, but I think there's a lot of agents out there that need help, that are feeling probably on an island right now. And so I want to try to be able to get in front of many of those people as possible. So I think there's opportunities to help a lot of people. I'm going kind of opposite direction as Daniel just mentioned. You know, prior to this, we had just bought a building to grow out another office, and I'm feeling better than ever about it. I think it's going to be a really great area. So it's in Tempe, and I'm looking forward to filling it up and really getting back the sense of community in the office. I know my agents crave it. We all like these Zoom meetings, but at the end of the day, it's still not quite the same as sitting across from the table from someone and having a conversation and bouncing ideas off of each other. So we're still moving forward with everything we were doing, and we're excited about it. So it hasn't really created a lot of changes, but I think if you had a lot of excess spend in your budget, now is definitely time to cut that out. But other than that, also look at what type of things can you double down on. You know, if you're really good at internet leads, maybe you should be doubling down on that, because there's a whole lot of people on their mobile devices right now, and you can be building up a pipeline for 2021, right? It doesn't have to all be about 2020 now. What can you do to build your future? So find out what you're really good at, and maybe there's an opportunity to double down, triple down on that. And when we get back to the new normal, you'll be positioned even stronger than you were going into this. So I think that's all I've got. There's not a lot of changes I've made financially.
But all great points. Yeah, all great points though, man. I love all that stuff. So Brandon, to you, my man.
Yeah, I mean, we started right out of the gates, right around March 13th when this happened, and we evaluated every line item on the P&L, right? And we broke all that down into necessary needs, wants, more or less just to prepare ourselves, because we had no idea what was coming. And you prepare for success. It's certainly not a reactionary concept, success. So we got into that, and then we paused. And what we wanted to do is said, well, let's not make decisions based on media and how that conjures up whatever emotional fears that we have. Let's allow the data of our business to dictate our decisions going forward. We pivoted to be online. We were almost 100% of the way there before this started, so it really kicked us into gear to make sure that we finish off that extra 10-20% to make sure that happened. What we noticed is we created a ton of efficiencies that otherwise wouldn't have existed had we not been forced to do that. And those efficiencies led us to understand there's some things in our business that we just didn't need or use anymore. And unfortunately for us, that did actually include a salaried position on our team that just didn't fit our new organizational model. So we did have to, to part ways with that person. But I'm not prepared to say that the parting of ways with that person right now was based on COVID or anything. So we kind of sprung to life, so to speak, online, and it just created a new business model. Efficiencies was a huge thing that's resulted out of all of this for us, in how much more we can get done with Zoom and all these meetings. And I mean, no offense, I love being in the office because I love the energy that we create and give to each other as human beings and professionals in the office. It's really valuable. But at the same time, we've eliminated a ton of the gotta minutes. And you all know what the gotta minutes are, right? There's somebody constantly at your door saying, you got a minute, you got a minute, you got a minute. And quite frankly, I mean, those are gone. And I realize that you add up all those gotta minutes every day, and I might be losing 90 minutes or 2 hours worth of my own, work. So there's a balance going on. And I'll say this, like Ben really nailed it. anytime there's change in business, change cleanses industries. It creates both hardship and opportunity. And for those of us who are really plugged in and focused on, one, getting our teams pivoted and through this deal and positioned for stability and growth again, we are going to see opportunity come from this. And if you're just in the mindset of cutting expenses to cut expenses just based on fear and emotion, then you're not going to be able to identify where those opportunities are and lean into those opportunities and the investments that those opportunities might require. So I think it's very, it's a total picture that you look at a time like this, in where can I cut expenses and get lean, not just to save money, but to free up money for potential opportunity that could present itself here in the next week or month or 2 months, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, I think it's not just to cut just to cut, but I think that this has provided an opportunity to do just that. It brings to light, like Ben said, it brings to light the holes potentially in your organization or in your day-to-day operations, or potentially exposes people or exposes systems. Is this particular system going to work in this new environment? So I think, again, it's provided an opportunity for us to kind of sit back and do an audit of ourselves, our productivity, our business, and then all of the tools and resources. So, again, wrapping, the mindset piece, making the choice to look for opportunities. And I know all four of you on here choose to look for opportunities. I imagine everyone else that's joining us here today makes that choice as well, or else they wouldn't be on here. They're making the choice to look for opportunities. So my question here is, what has this taught you? And again, I want to steer away from, again, now that cost perspective or evaluating the systems in our business, but, what is this going through this? What has this taught you? Or what has this allowed you to work on or build in your business? Again, what is everything that we're going through? What has this taught you or allowed you to, again, the opportunity to work on and or build? Let's start with Daniel on this one.
Yeah, what I learned is that change. I'm on a Zoom call. Hold on. Sorry, my kids came in. What I learned is that change is inevitable. I don't like it.
And there it is.
Change is inevitable, and that's what I learned. And sometimes we think we can predict what's going to change. Sometimes we think we can predict where the change may come from, and we can't. Even things like that we cannot predict, and change is going to happen. And just be ready and I got into the industry. I got into real estate in 2011 when the market was down. And I've always heard people like Jeremy and Mark, when I joined my home group in 2012, when things were going on the up and up, you guys listening to people like Mark and Jeremy always coaching me and mentoring me to save for the not so great months or not so great years. And I never really saw or knew what that would look like. But I always had, in case something did go down or in case something did go wrong, I always had, saved up for the bad times. But what I learned is that we can never pinpoint or we can never predict where it's going to come from, but change will happen, and just be ready for it and know how to adapt or how to maneuver in business to continue to serve people, to continue to serve clients. With me, I've always been about helping people and serving people. So whichever way I can serve and help people, and no matter what kind of industry, no matter what kind of market, and even in this market, and I don't even know where I'm hoping we reopen, but if we don't reopen, let's say in another 3, 4, 5 months, is what can I do during this 4 or 5 months that I can be of service to my clients or to people?
Yeah. Yeah, and I see you obviously, I imagine it's also taught you how to overcome a different set of distractions as you Heisman Trophy your kid out of the picture. Stiff arm.
I don't know how much this camera can get.
As your kid gets face planted by his dad so that he doesn't get interrupted on a Zoom call. Clearly, we have to have strong arms and shoulders for that. But again, so to kind of piggyback that a little bit, again, I've been, and Brandon mentioned that this has provided an opportunity to complete and or enhance or improve, the online training platforms, for obviously for the agents, for the team. So again, yeah, back to this question again, we'll go to Tiffany on this now. Is what is this opportunity as we choose to look for opportunities? Because again, this is what this is, and it has provided us. What's it taught you, and or what has it allowed you to work on or build?
It's allowed me to work on kind of implementing different systems, new messages, even the messages that I want to have after the fact. It's really allowed me to actually call a lot of my sphere. That's really what I've just been diving into. I mean, at 2 hours a day, I'm just calling friends, and I've already picked up referrals and new listings and stuff that are kind of coming. It's just, I haven't done a lot of new lead gen, honestly, like outside of what I already know. I've just been diving really deep in what I have. And that was it. I mean, I cleaned up. I'm always technically cleaning up my expenses every single month. I look at that, and it's clients. It's changing some of my marketing. I still haven't quite done my social media, which I'm hoping to kind of do a calendar before the end of the month. I've got a list of things, actually. It's, I think it's like 16 or 18 things I want to get done before this whole experience is over. And, I was talking to Angela the other day, and she's like, well, if you get 8 of those things done, that's a huge accomplishment, And so I'm just working checks and balances and working through the list, each day is a new challenge and each day is a new goal. And that's kind of what I'm doing over here.
Yeah. And like Daniel said too, is like when we open up, we don't know. And when things come back, is it going to be a U shape? Is it going to be a V shape? What's that going to look like? I don't think anybody really has, those answers, but, I know that, people want to talk about, life balance or whatever it may be and things like that. Again, I know that this has provided a challenge. I've always looked at it as like a line going up and down, right? And your work or your career is over here, and your family and your relationships and over here. And to me, like, you can't be doing both at the same time. Like, it's just, we can pretend or we can be, back and forth, right? But when we're all in on our business over here and we're it's pulling away, our relationships struggle, maybe with our spouse or our significant other or our kids. And when you're grinding hard, it pulls, and when you're all in, I tried my best to go all in on the other side, and disconnect from the business and disconnect from those, the best that we can, of course, and go all in on the relationships. And I think it's just brought that to light. Go ahead, Daniel. Yeah.
Yeah. When I heard you say something and reminded me of this, it's almost as if, back in 2012, I believe, when Facebook came up with the business pages, and I quickly opened up a business page, but it almost feels like this to me. It's figuring out figuring out this algorithm, right? When you do marketing or put videos out on social media, is what's going to work. And that's where I kind of feel right now, or even when we open up, it's what's going to work. Is it, like you mentioned, is it going to be a V-shape type rebound, an L shape? Is it going to continue to go down, a U shape? It's figuring out what's going to work and what doesn't work, and putting more time and energy to the things that do work. And I don't think anyone has the right answers. What's going to work, what's not going to work. It's going to be trial and error. But one thing for sure is that phone calls are always going to work. Obviously, you can't scale that. Well, you can if you're Ben, right? Ben, a dialing machine. But it's figuring out what's going to work, what's not going to work. I think we're all in this together. I don't think anyone has the answers, what's going to work and what's not going to work. So it's exciting too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's just all about connecting with as many people as you can, because eventually those connections will lead to some sort of level of conversion, and, figure out what that level looks like. But I think it's just really connecting in different platforms, whether that be through social media or a video through email, or, a video through a text message, to maybe somebody you haven't talked to in a while, or somebody you just recently talked to. Hey, how are you surviving isolation? Just checking in with you today, I'm here puppy training my new puppy. Hope all's well in your world. It's just connecting. It doesn't need to be complicated. It just needs to be a connection. But ideally, a phone call, I think, is good.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, nothing will beat the phone call. It's always going to be the most powerful, weapon that we have or tool that we have at our fingertips. So we're going to go to Brandon next, but for myself, real quick, I think that one of the things that I think that we have learned, again, as an organization, is that some of these trends that I think that we all knew in business that were taking shape, whether it be video, and I want to get into that, and whether it be shared work environments like a Trello or a Slack or these types of things, or a communication tool. We use Workplace in our organization, which is a communication, like an all-in-one type of a communication tool. It's actually, if anyone knows Workplace, it's from Facebook. So a lot of the functionalities are the same. But I don't want to go down the bunny trail of this. But the point is that the trends that we knew that were going on in society, the trends that we knew that were going on in business, and the trends that we knew that were going on specifically within the real estate business are coming to the forefront more than ever, right? It's forcing our hand to use these tools more than ever. And so for us, the communication tool and the shared workspace tool, we use Trello, and we use, for our project management, in our things that we're actually working on, and then we use Workplace for that kind of all-in-one discussion or communication tool. So it's bringing to the forefront these tools and having a full understanding and grasp and organization to keep the communication lines open amongst our people, amongst our crew, and utilizing these things to the best of their ability and really the importance of them. So Brandon, let's go to you on this.
Yeah, so I guess, to piggyback a little bit off of what Tiffany had mentioned here, and I don't know who on this call or who in our industry needs to hear this, but all lead generation is or has ever been is creating connection and engagement. So I think that, I fear that our industry thinks about lead generation in more of a traditional sales sense, and making 100 dials a day, or door knocking, or hitting your FSBOs and expireds, and all of those qualify, of course, but lead generation is creating connection and engagement. And that connection and engagement can be created in your database, in your sphere of influence, on your social media. It's your commitment to the consistency of generating that engagement that really is really the biggest indicator of success in your business going forward. So what have I learned, which was the original question. Well, I know that I know I've certainly learned some new things, and some things that I thought that I knew were certainly reinforced. Like, one, first and foremost, comfort is a lie. Comfort is a complete lie in business. And I've said this a couple times on this call, that change is the constant state of business. And it really is. So one thing that I've learned, and I've really reinforced in me over the last 5 weeks, is that a portion of any leader's time in any organization must be dedicated to answering the question, what are we going to do next? What are we going to do next what am I going to do next as a business person, as a leader? What are we going to do next as an organization to add value to our business, add value to our agents, and add value to our clients? Because we know fundamentally change is coming. Why not be at the forefront of that constantly by dedicating a portion of your time to acknowledging it and participating in it? And that's been a big piece of what myself and my CEO have discussed recently. Is, he came to me and said, "Hey, Brandon, I think we need to make some changes." And we had both agreed that, maybe a larger portion of my time going forward needs to be dedicated to answering that question. Where are we going? How are we going to get there? And what's in it for our business, our agents, and our clients? And I think that's been a really big topic inside of our business recently. And then, I don't know if this directly, correlates with your question, but any time a market shift happens like this, where it becomes more difficult for us to generate the same results from the activities that we've always done, like, for example, now a lot of agents' results are on pause, or are completely delayed right now. And delays in consumer decision making really disrupt our business sales cycle. And when we get a disruption in our business sales cycle, that can be disheartening for agents. It can be disheartening for people. And Ben mentioned this earlier about empathizing with the agents. How are they feeling? What are they going through? And when this stuff happens, it really impacts our confidence. It increases our stress. It drives us to inaction. Stress and anxiety drive us to inaction. So a lot of what we're focused on right now is, listen, we want to shift our focus from the old way, which is like 6 weeks ago, the old way of kind of cashing out on our conversations, and adjust now to investing in our conversations, knowing that we might not be able to pull the result out of this conversation like we would have 8 weeks ago in the form of scheduling an appointment or a showing or getting a contract. So we're not cashing out on it as much as we're investing in the conversation to protect the idea that an entrepreneur is disciplined in all market conditions, whether they're easy or hard. And we know that when they're hard, by investing in the conversations, as the market shifts back in our favor, that investment in those conversations is still going to pay off greatly this year. And Jeremy, you and I have talked about this. I said this right from the very beginning, almost from day one. Don't think of your business right now as a March or April or May business. Think of your business from the entrepreneurial mindset that this is my 2020 business. And the great thing about what we do as real estate professionals, we're not like other industries where the work is gone and lost, right? Like so many people can't go and make up lost work. We can. Our clients still exist and the houses still exist. They've simply been put on pause. So if we stay committed to the effort and the communication and the engagement, that money, those closings, those clients will be waiting for us on the other side. And that's difficult for people to commit to because we like immediate results, right? And Dave Ramsey has a saying, I don't know if there's any Dave Ramsey people on here, but Dave Ramsey says, professional maturity is our ability to delay gratification. And we are there right now. We have to be willing to delay our gratification and stay committed to the work to ensure that we are able to generate the results when the opportunity comes back to us.
Great points, man. I love that. And a couple of things that I'd piggyback on that before we go to Ben. We've always needed to invest first and give first and be an open book and a resource and lead with value and abundance first. And again, I just feel that this is one more thing that's being magnified in this, due to these conditions right now. And so again, I hope people really hear that and feel that and internalize that, because it's always been the case. But again, I agree with you, Brandon. It's more important now than ever to lead with that first. And the second point of that is that, like you're saying, I've always loved the line, attached to the process and detached from the outcome, because again, that delayed outcome, again, it might be a month, it might be 2, it might be next year, but we have to detach from that outcome and really attach to the process, attach to the activities, attach to, again, the things that we're talking about with making the connections and building the relationships and leading with those things first. Attach to that process, detach from the outcome. So Ben, to you on again, same question. What has this taught you and or allowed you to work on and or build?
Man, Jeremy, you keep putting me behind the most articulate.
Well, and you know what? You'll go first. You're going to go first on the next question. How about that?
Really, I think, in the thing that I always tell my team, and this really piggybacks on what everyone on this panel has just said before me, is I always ask, our agents, do you need a paycheck in January of 2020 or 2022, 2021? Do you need a paycheck in December of this year? The answer is yes to all those, right? And it goes to the point that everyone said, the relationships, the conversations that you're having today will come to fruition, but it's not going to be right now. And so, but that's always really been real estate, right? That's the real estate sales cycle. It's not instant gratification, even in a good market. And so I think you just need to come to understanding that it's going to take a little bit longer. But I'd like to circle back also to really what your question was, what have I learned? I think I've learned new technology. I'd never done a Zoom call prior to COVID, and now we're taking listings over Zoom, and we're doing buyer presentations over Zoom. So, we've adapted to some of those things. And if you look at it, how awesome is it to think when we go back to the new norm that you can now confidently go give listing presentations in Avondale when I live in Gilbert, and I can confidently provide a great service to that seller, get it signed, provide revenue to my team, and still provide an excellent experience. I think that's a great takeaway for me because, I just listed a house out on the west side of town that I would have never driven to, but I said, let's do this on Zoom. And it worked great. And so by and large, our agents embrace that same technology. And so, those are things that you can take post COVID-19 or whatever the new norm is. And now, once again, you can build on your business because you can be even more efficient than we were before. Driving across town might not be the best use of your time. Doing it in this medium over Zoom might be a way that you can be more efficient. So I've definitely embraced that. Well, we all knew that was possible before. I hadn't really thrown myself into that mix, and now we're doing that. So definitely added technology. I've reinforced some things that I think we all knew. I think the relationship-based business can last in all cycles, right? In good sales economies that are falling, a relationship-based business is the way to go, right? We're not doing as much cold calling. We're not doing as much internet lead generation. I mean, we saw those coming in, but the people that are transacting with us right now and that are really reaching out to us saying, hey, I've got a problem, I need you to help me solve it, are all the people that we've been fostering relationships over the past 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years since you've been in business. Those people are just calling us up right now and saying, hey, this has thrown a curveball in our life. How can you help me? And so we're not having to work for those deals, right? We put in the work last year through our client events, through our quarterly calls, through our newsletters that go out. And those people right now are reaching out to us. And it's really just, I think, cemented what we all knew that, Daniel's been doing this a long time. Your pop buys, all those things, they matter. And even when they don't respond to you and they may not, let you know that they opened up the letter that you sent them or the pop buy gift that you sent them, they're valuing that communication. Even if you're not knowing it right then at that time, they are valuing that communication. So it's just reinforced that you need to build out your sphere of influence touches, right? Whether you want to call it a 33 touch campaign, whatever you want to call it, you need to have something systematized that you're going to stay in touch with the people that you know and care about, right? And that should be all the people that have transacted with you in the past and that you call friends and family now. And so, and that I got a coach, right? First week, I think the last thing is I've been resistant to get a coach because I didn't want to get out of my comfort zone. And first week this happened, I said, it's time to get out of your comfort zone to be a better leader. Let's bounce some ideas off other people. And so I jumped into a coaching organization. So I think everyone here that's on this call, whether it's jumping on to a support group of some type, a coaching organization, I think there's a lot of value in that, and everyone can do it.
Where did you go, Ben? Which coaching?
The Tom Ferry organization. So,
Nice.
Without overanalyzing it, I just said, let's do it, right? Instead of talking about it, I just went and jumped on board. So and that's it. I don't have a lot to add there, I don't think, Jeremy.
No, it's all good. And again, you heard a lot of folks obviously, doubling down on the things that are working and talking about the relationship and all these types of things. And, if we didn't think that was important, again, it's being magnified. It's more important than ever. I think we all see at this point that the iBuyers are running for the hills. The people that we were worried about, the disruptors and all these other things that are just distractions from our own business, from our own day-to-day and our own relationships. We're seeing them just like that. It gets a little bit tough and they run for the hills. Who's left standing, right? The people that are here and that are consistent and continuing to have those, relationships. So, I want to take a question. Let's before I got a couple of things I want to get in on some lead gen things, different pillars that you guys are working with. But let's take a question from Michael Finkelstein. Do you advise waiting to buy or sell as real estate could go up or down, or do you encourage to transact right now? Let's start with Ben. We said we we're going to start with you on this one since you don't like following the rest of the crew here. So do you advise buying or selling now, or do you advise to to wait?
I mean, I don't think without a follow-up question, you can accurately answer that question, right? What is the goal of trying to transact? I think you need to know what are you trying to accomplish by this transaction before you can
Maybe
really.
let's specify this to a buyer. You got a buyer that's looking to buy at an average price point, that's maybe concerned that hey, look, with all this activity in the various markets, maybe they're concerned. Again, I know that we come from a different perspective and have a different insight to the markets and the data and Crawford and all the things that we're talking about. But if you have a consumer to address this question that's looking to buy right now, do you advise buying now or waiting to see what happens?
Absolutely. So I think if I'm talking to a buyer right now, I want to know is this a place that they're going to call home and take care of their family in? If that's the case, I absolutely think it's a great time to buy right now. Real estate historically goes up, but I don't think that you should be buying based on what the future value of that property is right now. I think you should be buying to have a consistent, safe place to call your home. I think that you should be buying right now because interest rates are historically low. And I think you should be very cognizant of potential changes in income in your life and buy within a price range that fits your budget and be conservative with those numbers when we're looking at debt to income ratios and making sure that you're working with a lender that isn't pushing people to an uncomfortable debt to income ratio. But I think right now is a great time to be transacting and taking advantage of low interest rates if I'm talking to a buyer. I think if you're trying to buy right now to ride the wave up that we've seen over the last 3 years and you expect to sell this house in a year and make $50,000, I would say I don't think that's a great time for you to buy right now. But if you're looking at buying to call a place your home because you need more space for your kids to run around or because your family is growing and you need an extra bedroom, I'd have no hesitation in buying a house right now.
Good stuff. Tiffany, let's go to you on this.
Kind of the same thing that Ben said. It's just really depends on where they're at. So it's like you got to ask the right questions, and see if really truly now's the right time, or if it's an emotional decision that they're thinking that they need to do or something. It really just depends. It's a case by case basis. Got to ask the right questions. As a financial coach myself, I dig a little deeper to make sure that they're in the right position to be buying a house. That depends on different levels of clients, but if you got to buy, let's buy. If you got to sell, let's sell. But at the same time, like I think some of the timing right now, I'm like if you're looking to sell, I think in the next year or two, I think now's a better time than a little bit more in the future. If you're thinking to hold out a little longer, I think we'll see some ripple effects that could change our market a little bit. But I do think depending on that client's needs, there's the right time for everything.
Yeah, and again, as we choose to look for opportunities, and I'm sure we've all seen around social the jokes, and I'm going to get into this on a follow-up question. I don't want to go down this path now, but we've seen the opportunities, again, very negative statement here potentially, but maybe divorce rates are going to be higher, but now we have, people that are going to potentially looking for, a new housing solution, right? And so, again, these are opportunities, of course, for us to do business, and how do we meet that market with the right message? So I want to get into that, but Daniel, let's go to you on this one.
Yeah, I think Ben answered it perfectly. Do you see this as your forever home? If so, or if you're looking to flip this house, in a year or two and profit 50,000, 70,000, then it all depends on the why. What is the why you're wanting to buy? If your why is you're a first-time home buyer and you're in love with this house and you do see this house, you see yourself living in this house, you want a house for you and your family, it is better to buy right now than to rent. Rates that are historically low, and you're way better position even during these times to own a house versus to be renting a house. So it all goes back to the why.
Yep. Having that back and forth discussion, feeling out, listening, right? Using our two ears and our one, to listen to them and their needs. So Brandon, let's go wrap this up for us.
Yeah, I mean, they're exactly right. One thing I'll add to that is I think sometimes agents forget that our job isn't to predict the future. It's not to predict the future of our industry, and it's certainly not to own somebody's investment strategy. You get a lot of people who come and say, oh, I'm an investor, or I'm doing this. And then they say, I just need you to find me the deal. And it's just like, well, you know, if I'm going to find you the deal, I'm going to find it for myself. Like you know, our job is not to execute their investment strategies. So, you know, we always just talk about, it's very important to match the market conditions with the client's motivation. Make sure the motivation is true and real and makes sense for the market conditions. You know, like Ben said, if someone's looking to, you know, catch a deal and have it be worth 50K more a year from now, like, you're going to have a completely different conversation with that person than someone downsizing from a home that they've lived in for 15 years because their kids are out and they want to downsize, and they're probably going to be in the next home for 15 years. Well, then really the market conditions don't matter as much for a person like that. Real estate historically is always the right bet when you start getting over 7 years, and especially when you start getting into 15 years. So you just match the market conditions with the motivation of each client.
Love it. Good stuff. I want to transition now into, you know, essentially, you know, lead generation, the pillars of your business, what we refer to as kind of your main sources of business, the actual pillars of your business that generate, you know, the most revenue. Essentially, again, the lead generation. I know the conditions. I know a lot of you have said, or most of you have said at this point, of being patient and understanding that we lead with empathy. And obviously the deals might not be this month or next. They might be a year down the road. But the truth is that agents, and many agents on this call, I'm sure, need deals, and we need deals right now, right? And we have livelihoods, and we have families. And so, again, we want to get those buyers and those sellers off the fence right now, because, again, we have livelihoods and we need to take care of our families. So for your guys' traditional lead generation pillars, two-part question. What is the traffic, the activity look like? You know, is the conversion or is the traffic and the conversion, you know, more or less from what you've been doing? And the second part of that, what are you doing anything different to generate right now business? Let's start with Daniel on this one.
I've always had referrals as my main pillar. I have been seeing more referrals come in through Facebook messaging. So what I've personally been doing different is I've been putting out more content on Facebook, whether videos versus doing what I would, obviously, like I said before, client events was the big thing that I would do, and I would do them monthly. Obviously, I have not done any client events. So personally, what I've been seeing is more referrals coming in through via Facebook, via social media, versus before it was a text message or a phone call. Now I'm getting Facebook messages saying, hey, so-and-so referred me to you. So now what I'm doing is I'm putting a little bit more content out on Facebook.
Got it. And obviously seeing good, you're seeing the good activity and the conversion, and people obviously willing to communicate. I mean, again, this could speak to, you know, human behaviors. People are more on social more, they're willing to communicate more, and then they don't want to go off that channel.
One thing that I have been seeing right now is that versus referrals from before, referrals right now, people that are thinking about buying and selling, they're more serious. These are people, if they reach out to you, they're not on the fence. If somebody reaches out to you right now wanting to buy, they're wanting to buy. And they're serious. They're not on the fence. They're not thinking about it. People thinking about it, they're not calling you. They're not reaching out to you to buy or sell. So any leads or referrals you get right now of buyers or sellers, they are 100% serious to buy or sell. That's my experience.
Yep. I'd have to believe that. And that's the feedback that we've kind of gotten and received as well. So Tiffany, let's go to you for your lead gen pillars, normal or less more or less traffic and conversion. And what are you doing different potentially for the right now business?
Well, so diving back into my sphere, you know, I've got a lot of my business is either online generation or sphere of influence. So I kind of dialed some of the higher expense online lead gen back, but I kept my Facebook advertising pretty much the same because the cost is just completely different. And then I started doing retargeting ads to the database that I currently have. through Facebook and like Instagram. So that's helping. So just kind of changed how I was doing the same type of marketing, just at a lower cost, focusing a little bit more on that. And then emails, video, text messages, and phone calls.
Normal, less conversion?
More conversations, not a lot of people that are ready to do something quite yet. A lot of it's like, I might look into this like in the next month or two. Some people that were down payment assistance type buyers, obviously they can't do anything right now because the program's not available, but it's more like, okay, well, let's start planning for the future. How does that look? Let's check in. What can we do to start getting you prepared for the purchase in the next, 3 months?
Got it. All right. Brandon, how about you and your various channels, lead generation pillars? What are you seeing for the agents out there looking for the right now business?
Yeah, I mean, we used to, be highly dependent on, open houses as a main deal, and of course we've lost that. But we found that one of the ways that we've made it up is inside of our business. We have one of our morning huddles every single week is dedicated to tracking and scoreboarding. So teaching agents individually how to track their efforts. And how to monitor their conversion and identify weaknesses inside of their skill sets that they can improve so that they can get more out of less. And what we've noticed is, through going through that, we've helped a lot of agents build sales pipelines, not just lead pipelines, but sales pipelines, people that they've already met with and have a signed buyer broker with. And a lot of those agents have big lists. And what we've done is we've taken the idea that we discussed earlier, which was, through education, through staying engaged and really understanding what's happening right now, they're just reaching out to all of those people on those lists and having just real conversations about where they're at and what their concerns are, and always asking the question, hey, Jeremy, do you know anybody else like yourself that might be a little nervous and could use some more information about what's going on? Because, that's what I'm here to do first and foremost, is I'm here to help people with their due diligence. And that brings me to one of the key concepts inside of our business, which is you don't just focus on finding buyers and sellers, right? You also have to focus on building buyers and sellers. And the way that you do that is you focus on finding people who need information, and you help get them that information. You help them with the due diligence. And through the process of that educational, due diligence process, you take a person that needs information and you build them into a confident buyer or seller. So we really focus on getting everybody to understand that where you start in the conversation with people is important. And just because somebody says, well, I'm not looking to buy or sell right now, doesn't mean that they don't have value to your business, both now and in the future. That person can't be dismissed. They need to be brought into your database and communicated with. And that's how you build, oftentimes through serving those people in that way, you'll find right now business, because more often than not, they just weren't ready to move forward right now because they didn't have enough information, or they legitimately need 6 months and they need some time, but they know somebody else and they're so impressed with you not being pushy that all of a sudden they refer you right now business. So a lot of that is being discussed inside of our business. And I'll say this to piggyback on, I think what Daniel said there is, I'm seeing social media now as a key pillar in real estate lead generation, communication, and engagement. For a long time, it was an outside thing. It took a backseat to some of our more traditional lead generation measures. I don't see now, having gone through this time that we're going through as an industry, that this now doesn't take center stage as one of the most important pieces of your business going forward. And lastly,
Fully agree.
And lastly, I think that it's very important that you have to 2 or 3x your effort right now. As a real estate agent that needs to find business, it might take 2 or 3 times the effort to find the same amount of business today as it did 8 or 10 weeks ago. But understanding that by 2 or 3xing that effort, which is the only thing we can control right now, is effort, engagement, and education. So we got to lean into those things. But that effort that's going to generate right now business for you is also going to build equity in your business going forward. So it's not that you're having to do 3x the work to create the same results. It's that you're having to do 3x the work to create the same result now, but you're also investing in the future. You're investing in a ton of those conversations that will reward you 3 months from now, 6 months from now, or 8 months from now. It's a win-win. Just leaning into engagement and effort and education.
No doubt. And again, I can't say it enough. A lot of these things that we knew that were coming to the forefront are more important and more vital than ever. And you talk about, social media, and you talk about video. I mean, you probably heard us, well, maybe not all of you, some of you may have heard us. Kelly, I know at least you heard us talking about probably 3, 4, maybe even 5 years ago on how the human mind cannot discern the difference between between a moving talking head on a mobile device or a big screen movie theater. We artificially or turn ourselves into a celebrity the more that we do video, the more that it builds a deeper relationship. Again, it's turning ourselves into a celebrity to our clients and customers and potential future clients and customers. And again, that's why people feel like they know us when we do a lot of videos, or why we feel that we know somebody else when we see them doing a lot of videos, right? And so again, guys, we wanted to get into some of these video techniques or things that we're doing and saying on that, but where it looks like we might be running out of a little bit of time. And another point or follow up, Brandon, what you're leading to, would you or talking about there was, would you call that the process of moving the needle from a relationship to professional trust? I know you like that line. I love that one. I've used it 100 times. We have a responsibility to move the needle from a relationship to professional trust. So when you talk about finding those people, again, social media, video, all these types of tools and resources help us to move that needle from a relationship, to professional trust. And guys, I can't say enough how important I think that it is when we're trying to attract new customers, attract new people, maybe attract new agents to our organization, recording a simple, quick video. Think of yourself as like a consumer, or someone wants to invite you when they say, hey, Brandon, hey, Daniel, hey, it's Jeremy here. I just wanted A, B, and C, whatever it may be. It's so much further up the line of human communication and human interaction. So, but that being said, Ben, I know we've kind of got off this a little bit, but for your lead generation pillars, are you seeing more or less traffic, and are you doing anything different to generate that right now business?
So one is, I'm gonna piggyback on what Brandon said, because I've as long as for the however many years people kept talking about social media, part of the reason why I got into Tom Ferry organization was to get a better grasp on it. I'm a firm believer now in the presence of Facebook and Instagram and its ability to actually generate business. It's through the stories and through, quality content posts. I need to get, and this call is actually a good reminder to get back to it, but I went through a test of 1 week doing nothing but stories and posts, not all business related, but I can tell you, I had probably just personally about 7 referrals that came through and calls that came through that had a direct comment about one of my stories or posts. And while I don't know if that's the reason they called me per se, they mentioned it, which means it's keeping me top of mind. And so I think that is something that we've already made changes, and we're building out modules for creating content on social media through Facebook and Instagram. So one is, that's a change we've made that has provided instant business for us. So I think that's one thing that we're doing and also evolving to get better at, that I think should be a part of everyone's business moving forward. Something different that I'll talk about that I know isn't always super sexy and things that people want to necessarily do or talk about, but these relationships that we're talking about, great. If you haven't already fostered those relationships, it's going to be really hard to get now business out of those. And so if you're sitting on this call and wondering what you can do to go get a check sooner than later, I think you have to look. I was pulling up, in the last 30 days, we've had 1,798, almost 2,000 properties that people raised their hand and said the situation changed for whatever reason, and I'm going to take a pause. Well, all these people still need to be helped. And going through, the last downturn, I don't know if that's going to be right now, but I do know a good portion of it will be the next 30 days to 90 days that they're going to relist. But I also know for the next couple of years, those people will raise their hand again and use this opportunity now. If you absolutely need a check, you might have to do something you don't love long term. But these people that you help through a canceled or expired listing will become part of your sphere of influence and will become your past clients that will be, part of your follow-up or referral program moving forward. But I think that's a place that you have to look right now if you want now business. I also think for sale by owners. These people are going through this crisis and still saying, I want to still sell my house. There's a good chance those people are going to list. And if you're calling them and building relationships, and I think the scripting on both of those calls are a little bit different now than they would have been, say, 90 days ago. But I think there's a huge opportunity in the market right now. And it's something that you can do if it hasn't been a part of your business, something you might want to highly consider doing for a more instant paycheck.
Love it. All good stuff. Guys, I want to give every one of you guys a final word, but before we do, just one more thanks to Magnus Title, Angela Kiernan and the crew over there. Thank you guys, obviously, for helping us put this on today. Again, appreciate you guys and all that you do. I don't know if you want to give us a parting shot here, Angela.
You bet. Sorry, I've been muted for so long. I just want to add something to what Ben said when he talked about, how many did you say, Ben, for FSBOs and expired?
Well, I just put canceled.
Almost 2,000.
Yeah, 1,800.
1,800, yeah.
3 days.
So we've been actively skip tracing those. So we have those, and not from like what do you call it, like a land voice or something, but we've been skip tracing those and we have all that active data. So those are things that we can help out with too. So all of the social media, we have links that you can watch different videos that'll help you lead gen. We know that everyone is in a different place in their business right now. So we have different strategies depending on where you are. If there's anything that we can do to help support you, please reach out to us. We're going to reach out to all of you. Please just let us know, because like I said, depending on where you are in your business, I'm sure that there's something that we can do to help support you. So just let us know and we're here for you.
Love that, Angela. Thank you guys again. And one thing that I'd like to say again before we give you guys a quick chance to give a final word here is that we talked quickly about, again, as things are changing, they're a little bit different right now, and as deals might come a little bit down the road, how do we know that we're winning the day? And I want to challenge everyone to really try to dial in the best they can on that lead measure scoreboard. On evaluating our activities and the things that we're doing on a daily basis. And it might be a little bit different today, but having a scoreboard that tracks the activities, not the closings, not the numbers, not the commission dollars, not the things that come as a result, but I think it's a challenge. I know it's a challenge for agents to come up with those types of things and try to determine the best we can on how we know that we're winning the day today and tomorrow and the next day. And so having a scoreboard that tracks those things can help with all the things that we're talking about today, between mindset, commitment, and then obviously production. So let's get a quick final word from all you guys. If you have, I know we're over, so let's try to make it quick as we can. Ben, kick us off a final word here.
Appreciate everyone. If anyone needs any help off this call, feel free to reach out. Jeremy, thanks for putting this on. I think it's just a testament to my home group evolving and continuing to pour into the agents. So I just appreciate being able to be a small part of it.
Well, thank you, man, and thank you. Brandon, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess, one thing that I would just tell everybody is, don't be paralyzed by fear when things change. Fear and anxiety will lie to you. And it's one of those things that, the biggest changes offer us the best opportunities. And a lot of what happens in the corporate world and what happens in the progress in business happens actually in down markets. So we have to have the discipline in a down market or a shifting market or a scary time to do the work that other people are unwilling to do. I can't remember who said that. It was like Napoleon Hill, successful people do what unsuccessful people won't do, or something like that. So just remember, success in business or even in leadership is, we don't just walk on the sunny days, man. We walk when it's raining and storming outside, and we lead by example. So believe in yourself, believe that your efforts, they matter. They matter every single day to the outcome of your business, both in the short term and the long term. So stay the course and trust in the process.
Good stuff. Love it. Tiffany.
Ending notes. If anyone, first of all, if anyone needs anything, feel free to reach out to me. I've got all kinds of different greatness trackers depending on where you are in your business. Happy to help anybody that's on this call. Fear has multiple different meanings, but you know, the biggest one you can always kind of lean into is forget everything and rise. So rise to our occasion. Other than that, that's about it. I actually got a 1 o'clock meeting, so I have to jump off this call.
No problem. Daniel, last thing, last
Yeah,
word.
last word. I'm glad I had the last word. We're trying to figure it out, just like you. This is the different times. And there's people on this call that I look up to, and you know, Becky Garcia, Sergio, Heather, Dustin, man, I'm here for you guys as well. And Becky, I'll probably reach out to you if you know if things start going a different way, because again, I look up to a lot of agents on here as well. Obviously, Brandon, Ben, I've been looking up to you for a long time, and thank you so much, Jeremy, Kelly, for putting this together. We're trying to figure this out, just like many of you are trying to figure it out, and you know, I'm here to serve. If I come up with the secret pill, and you know, in the next coming months, I'll be more than happy to share with you guys.
Awesome. You guys, we're so incredibly grateful to have, you know, all four of you guys and amazing partners and the rest of you guys on this call. This is really, truly what it's all about. It's about coming together, sharing ideas, leading with abundance, trying to help each other out and all grow together. So Daniel, Tiffany, Ben, Brandon, thank you guys so much. Angela and Magnus, again, thank you guys as well. And Kelly, thank you for you and all you do. And guys, everyone else, we'll talk to you guys soon. Keep rocking out there, guys.